Yes! Welcome aboard the Boise bus. What's happening? It's the Tuesday ticket. I was just laughing there, our dear member Gary Brown. He's like, mere chance of the bus missing you than you missing the bus. Always late now. Gary, with the old intro, mate, would still just be waiting. We'd still be waiting around to get started at this time. We're actually on earlier than we used to be. Anyway, what's happening, everyone? I hope they're all good and all that. I hope the bus passengers are all had a dandy Tuesday. I hope you were all grafting hard and not eating sushi at lunch. You know what I mean? You always know, Jonathan, eh? See, I can't judge folk by what they have at lunchtime during their shift. Do you know what I mean? See, these folk sit there and they could just get sushi at Tesco's or something for their lunch. I'm like, you've done fuck all this morning, you lazy bastard, eh? It's like, no way. I need a scran at lunch because I've been grafting. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about that. Anyway, we will crack on with all that good stuff. Do give us a wee like. Do it now. There's 123 on the bus already. Give us a wee share. Slag the hair. You know the rules. If you want to become a Boise Bus member, like so many of you have, like David Kelly, like Brian McCabe, like Martin Weir, like Alistair Jack, like Brown Warrior, like fucking Gary Brown, who's raising the lane, like Stephen Murdoch, and so many others. DJ Gas just sneaking in there. Good to have you on. Patrick McLaughlin, Charles Smith, members everywhere, John. I think they're all just putting up comments now, all the members, so they get their name right. There's Jim Dolan as well. Yes. Okay. It's $1.99 a month. Feel free to do it. It's totally optional. The content will remain free, but it keeps the wheels on the bus and it keeps peroxide in my hair. Right. What's the other one we do? ED Pharmacy, piesports.com, all that carry on. Remember, do scan the QR code right now for the bus 10 discount at ED Pharmacy. Erectile dysfunctional needs? No more. ED Pharmacy. Head along there. Same day delivery. It is if you're in the central Scotland area. Order cut-off time is 6 p.m. If you're not in the central Scotland area, they will strive for next day delivery. What a service that is. And remember, as I say, plus 10 at the checkout, and they will keep you going all night long, all night, all night. Right, okay. Enough of that shite. That was terrible. Pie Sports, that's the one. 12.5% of the checkout, and you get a tasty discount. Right, fuck all that carry on. Right, we're done. We're out of the woods. Only one place to start. With Jonathan. Take it away, son.
Well, Russell, we're looking back on a week where the economics in Glasgow have shifted massively. The wheel of fortune has been spinning and it's landed on jackpot Jota for Celtic as they scoop a record transfer fee across the city. They continue to draw blanks at the wheel. The wheel has spun twice already this summer. 0 returns on Alfredo Morelos, 0 returns on Ryan Kent. Soon to be 0 returns on Calvin Bassey as well. But for Celtic, the wheel is still spinning because Jeremy Frimpong could be off too, which could land us another tasty fee as well. But when you're looking at fees, you're really hoping we are able to get some loyalty out there. And in the last 24 hours, we have seen Celtic manage to buy some loyalty with Kyogo Furuhashi signing on for another 4-year deal. And really, the questions are now all shifting towards a multi-million-pound drop. The question is, who is Big Bucks Brendan going to be spending his money on? Is it going to be the likes of a Scott McTominay? Is it going to be a return of a hero in Kieran Tierney? Or will it be somebody else outside the box? But let's be honest, the transfer window is about to spice up.
Jonathan, you're getting a lot of love in the comments, mate. TV quality, someone said. That was brilliant. That was class. That voice has got so much, like, it's so different from what it used to be now. It's like you're doing an impression of the voice you used to do. Anyway, a lot of good points made. And we'll crack on. Well, let's talk Kyogo, because that is the big news story today. It's not about Jota leaving. We'll get to that, obviously, and Saudi and all that carry on, which I think are going to dominate quite a few bus episodes, because I get a feeling we've not heard the last from that pesky league.
No, I don't think so.
Are you the same as me? Oh, wow. Before we get into that, Dave Lynch comes in. Look at this. Thank you so much,
Oh,
mate.
wow, thanks very much.
£19.99. He's been watching from the first show. It's his first time commenting. Keep up the good work, lads. He loves the bus content. Dave, get lively in the chat, mate. That's what we're all about, my man. But yeah, thank you so much. What a way to kick us off. Thanks so much, Pat. Really, really generous, really kind, and we really appreciate it. And aye, I'll probably spend the ED pharmacy the money. Okay. Like I was saying, Kyogo's the big story. 4-year announcement. That's how you counter a player going out, Jonathan. One goes out the door. We think it's going to be, that's it. That's the tone set now. This is going to be a disaster. There's going to be players. It's going to be an exodus. There's going to be a rebuild. The Celtic under Brendan. It's new Celtic, new danger. I told you this. It's going to be totally different. It was a shot. Cheers for the work, Jota. See you later, son. Today it's, talisman striker, they called him, and everything. Did you see that? Talisman. Kyogo, so they're really milking it, and they're saying, the main man's staying. And I just think that is what we are looking to do. We are looking, I think it's very, very good news that Kyogo's staying. And let's just talk about him right now, and then I've got a few similarities I'm gonna go down as well. A couple of wee rabbit holes we can go down with it, Jonathan. But all in all, I take you're delighted that the wee, not that wee fella, the wee smiley fella, Kyogo, is staying.
Yeah, no, I think it was brilliant bit of business from Celtic. I think there was a few question marks, when Brendan came in as to whether he would look at Kyogo as being his number one striker, and perhaps this contract has gone away to cementing that Brendan sees him as still going to be his star man up front, much like Ange Postecoglou always seen Kyogo as one of the first names on his team sheet. And what, the fact of the matter is, if he stays at Celtic for another 4 years, which, bear in mind his age, I think there's a very good chance he could see this contract out at Celtic, because I don't think he's going to attract the same amount of interest as some of our other players that were in the squad, or indeed Jota, who's just left. So I think there's a good chance he sees that out. And, if he stays up with us for another 4 years, there's a massive opportunity there that he could go on to set some incredible records at the club and really go down as this generation's hero, if you like. He's already kind of working towards that. He's got goals in cup finals. He got the monkey off his back this season by crucial goals against Rangers as well. The next step for him is to see what he can do in Europe. But I think Brendan Rodgers is the perfect manager to have with him, because I think Brendan is going to take him on further levels. Kyogo's already, a couple of steps ahead of the players a lot of the time anyway. And I think with Rodgers, I think he's an even better coach than Ange Postecoglou. I think on the training pitch, Rodgers will make the players even more acutely aware, if you like, of the movements of Kyogo. And I think that'll pay dividends as well. So I think all in all, it's a great little bit of business for Celtic to do. And I think it was a much needed tonic for the fans as well after seeing Jota go last week.
Yes, timing is everything. Rooster was saying, did you notice how they did that? As they were, obviously to deflect from trousering, £25 million as well. He said it's all a PR stunt. He's always, I think, he's, very tongue in cheek. Do you know what? I think with Kyogo signing that deal, I think it's a real statement of intent. I think a lot of people were concerned that, I think more importantly, not the Saudi ones get a lot of our attention right now, but I think most people thought at some point Ange might just, tempt Kyogo, and they're sort of their father-son relationship could blossom, Jonathan, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only one that would give a cuddle and a kiss to was Kyogo.
Uncle Brendan is now in the building. You listen to your Uncle Brendan.
Yeah, definitely. Uncle Scar, mate, do you know what I mean? He's plotting. And he's managed to get he's going to get the best out of Kyogo as well, I think. But what's very interesting is with the timing of all of this, right? We did it last year. Now, first disclaimer: not even the same league as the King of Kings, right? However, the similarities start getting drawn. He joined when he was 26. He's now 28, signs that new deal till he's 32. 32 and a half, which will be almost exactly what Henrik was when he left Celtic in 2004, because he was 20th of September was his birthday. So he was just a wee bit older than 32 and a half, approaching 33. And Kyogo with 32 and a half. So it's very similar ages. And I think at the end of the day, the fans right now view Kyogo the same way we viewed Henrik at this stage after 2 years. I think he's your talisman. The young fans need heroes. It doesn't matter if we all go, well, he wasn't as good as Henrik. That's not the point we're making. Teams all still need icons and they need idols and they need heroes. And right now, Kyogo is that guy. Him signing for his peak years, Jonathan, is very rare to see for a player of the ability that he has got. Do you know what I mean? And I find that definitely something that's quite exciting, because I think we all thought it could go either way. It would be this summer if he was going to go because he turned 28 in January. So you're thinking to yourself, if there was a summer, instead, don't back down, double down, get the deal done, get Kyogo here for his peak years. And, I think it's, very, very exciting up. Pez, he obviously has not been watching the bus, Jonathan. Look, Boise kidding on. He didn't look at Larson's birthday today.
He doesn't know you very well then. It's like your
special
subject.
He doesn't. Pez, mate. Pez. I don't have many skills. And of course, the one that I do is a completely useless one. But when it comes to all
that would be your mastermind subject, though.
That would be your
mastermind subject.
I applied for it. Yeah, years of birth of footballers between 98 and 2002. They never applied. I did apply. Anyway, fucking hell. I mean, I just think that we're allowed to have guys held of a certain status in the fans' mind without just comparing the abilities all the time. It doesn't matter whether Henrik was better. I think right now he's as close to what we had with Henrik as what the new wave of fans have got, and keeping him in the peak years. Very, very similar vibes to that with Henrik, and I think it wards off any interest certainly this summer. Apart from the Saudi thing, which is a completely different conundrum. We can talk about that in a bit. But on the whole, you would think that means he's definitely here, for the foreseeable. Peak years of Kyogo doesn't happen often. Cal Mack did the same. Kyogo for Japan just showing similar levels of loyalty. Love to see it, Jonathan. We love to see it, man.
Yeah, we don't see enough of it these days. And the modern day footballer is certainly one that tends to do a lot more travelling between clubs. They tend to be more of a mercenary than a hero most of the time. But I think Kyogo will see this contract out. I don't think there will be much movement for him. I think he's a fairly loyal guy. I think he's enjoying his time at the football club. I think, Brendan Rodgers will befriend him. I think him and Brendan will end up just fine. Didn't need to worry about his father figure and Ange Postecoglou going. I think Uncle Brendan will look after him with his wee arm around his shoulder if that's what he wants. So I think he'll be well looked after on that front. If he continues to go about his business on the pitch the same way he's been going about it in his first 2 seasons, I think there's still more improvements in him. I've obviously mentioned Europe. I think if we were looking at players last season in the Champions League that we felt perhaps had more to offer, I would have put Kyogo in that bracket. I think there was more that he would have liked to have done in the Champions League, and he'll have an opportunity this season coming to try and right those wrongs. So I think a lot of that is, extremely positive from that point of view. And I just think he is going to be the guy, hero for the kids that are coming up watching Celtic now. That is going to be his role. He's going to be one of these guys that if he continues to go the way he's going, he is going to break some records and he's going to go down as an icon with the football club, and he's going to be remembered very fondly. People, I always think, Russell, they always get drawn towards players. When you talk about managers, they always get drawn towards players, and I think when we look back on Ange Postecoglou in 10, 15 years' time, whenever Phil decides to do his Bustalgia on that, the first player you're always going to think at, for me, with Ange Postecoglou is Kyogo Furuhashi. And I think he will take his game to even further levels under Brendan Rodgers, because I just think Brendan has that ability to find how to make players tick. And I think Kyogo is one of those players that Brendan will love because he does so much work. And I think he's one of those players that, even though he's getting a bit older, he's still looking to improve. He's not one that's going to sit on his laurels and turn around and think, well, I'm 28 years old, I know the game extremely well now, there's nothing left for me to improve, I've already hit as far as I can go with my potential. I think Kyogo will be somebody that's still got that hunger to try and develop even further, and I think that will pay dividends for Celtic. And like I say, the fact he's decided to stay around for another 4 years, I think, is massive for the club. And as I say, you just don't really see that, particularly with foreign players, particularly with strikers at Celtic. I can't remember if he was to see this out. That'd be 6 years he would give the club. I don't know if there's been a player that's given that length of time since Henrik, to be honest with you. Maybe Hartson or somebody along those sort of lines, but I would be going back to O'Neill's era. I think I can't think of very many. Lee Griffiths possibly. Griffiths being the exception, but he's not remembered.
He showed up about 10 games a season. His last 4 years he was at 10 games. Do you know what I mean? But I know. But basically, the point is getting players, if they were to stay a 6-year stint from foreign shows and stuff, that would be unusual. But unusual. You get the vibe with Kyogo that he's signing for the long term. He's signing the deal because he wants to do it at Celtic, and very hopeful. I mean, obviously, we'll celebrate the news today, and we're absolutely buzzing on the back of losing one of our other favourite players, Jota. I don't know if I've frozen. Did I freeze there?
No, you're okay. No, I can still hear you fine.
You froze at my end. I don't know what happened. But obviously, Kyogo now, the onus is on him. Whilst it is, he's getting the talisman headline on the sort of Celtic posting about it and stuff today. The next step is Champions League, baby, because I think he knows he's got another opportunity to, and obviously more experience this time around, but he'll be as cheesed off as anyone, I'm sure, that he didn't even get a goal in the Champions League this year. And it's time for him to be absolutely ruthless. And I look forward to seeing him do that. Do you know what I mean? Because see, when you actually think about it, I just think that Kyogo's one of those players who, when you're in the vein of form that he kind of showed after the Champions League, and his goal to games ratio was such, you feel it's only a matter of time if Celtic are going to be as creative, or maybe not even as creative, but still pretty, attacking minded when we're in the Champions League. You'd like to think he can eventually sort of bring that conversion rate over. It's not going to be the same, right? It's not going to be the same percentages, right? But you would like to think when you have like the sort of stats that he had in the end, with his conversion rate and things, you'd like to think that will then reflect in Europe and lead to a couple of goals, because we'll certainly be needing it this year around. We can't go into the Champions League 82 chances created, 3 goals, 4 goals did we get? Hatate dribbled and it was an OG. Jota, did he score 2?
Jota got 1 and Giakoumakis got 1. 3, was it? 3, I think.
Did Jota only get 1? I had it in my head he got 2.
No, he got 2. You're right, he did get 2.
Did get
Real Madrid
2
as well, the free kick, and the other game against Shakhtar.
No, Leipzig,
that was it.
Leipzig. Aye, but anyway, you can't have 82 chances, 3 goals scored by us, 1 OG. So you look at it and you go, I don't think we'll create 82 chances. I think we'll set up differently. I don't think we'll be as naive as naive, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, you would like to think that'll be the stage he'll be focusing on as well. Just like what it seems the whole of Celtic, Jonathan, feels like a Champions League summer.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think there's an interesting point on Kyogo, and I don't know how much you've seen about this, Russell, is the fact that they're planning on changing the offside rule as well, which I think will actually benefit Kyogo probably more than anyone, particularly if we're talking in Scottish football terms, because essentially the offside rule could be changing to the point where you could end up with, some parts of your body in front of the last defender, but as long as part of your body is in line or behind that last defender. So, for example, Kyogo's head, if he's moving forward, could be in front of the last defender, but if his foot's still in line, that would be onside under the new rules they're planning on bringing in. And we all know how quick Kyogo is at making these runs, and players not necessarily always picking up on them. It was something that used to make Ange tear his hair out a lot. It does mean there is that fraction of a second longer that players will have to potentially pick Kyogo out for those moments. And it's fine margins, but I think that could make a difference as well to his numbers, because he's a very intelligent player when it comes to his movement off the ball. He's as good as I've seen at Celtic in a very long time in that particular aspect of his play. And, even taking that into the Champions League, that could pay dividends as well, because there's going to be games in that competition where Celtic are going to be backs against the wall at times, and they're going to be needing to rely on counter-attacks to get up the pitch, and your defences will be pushed up against us, which we don't see often in Scottish football, but certainly in a European stage, it's again something that Kyogo could potentially get a bit more reward in, with that potential rule change going into place there too, and I think that could benefit us as well. But Celtic are setting themselves up for the Champions League. That is the statements that are coming out. They may have already lost Jota in the last few days, but bottom line is the money is now going to be there to reinvest. We've obviously seen we've had this Kyogo deal in the pipeline for a while, sign him up for another 4 years. But this is just the start, I think, of Brendan beginning to start and to build what he believes is a Celtic team that can start making inroads in European competition. And I'd expect you'll see a bit more of that in the next week or two, with a few more either household name arrivals or, at the very least, big money arrivals that we maybe won't know as much about, but that Brendan Rodgers feels could take us to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. So, as Kyogo decides to stay, Jota departs, he's away. What your take on that? Because obviously, when we look at the money involved, it will turn out to be probably up there with our record fees, if not quite a record fee. I had someone from the, I think he was called, what was he even called, man? Like Buffalo Bill or something on Twitter. I don't even know. It was just a big fat picture of Morelos as his Twitter profile picture still. And he's trying to whereabouts did it say record fee in that short paragraph? I'm like, you're more offended about Celtic giving a wee short paragraph saying cheerio to Jota than me. I'll be honest, I think Celtic are dealing with it now business like. I think it's let's get to work is the message. And it's cheers Jota, you're the way to get rich. We got some money for you. We put you on the map. We shake hands, we move on. Doesn't need to be, I don't know why people get their knickers in their twist about all this fucking, it should have been a longer wee essay for him and all that carry on. I'm like, why? Like, no, because if we're going to keep this, don't fall in love with your heroes, and that starts with the top as well. Do you know what I mean? I think 2 years, you did well. I really liked you. You fucked off. You got us 25, 30 million. Cheers. See you later. And it's on to the next one, mate. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the right sort of attitude. Jota will need to be replaced by real quality, though. I wonder if the speculation that maybe Tilio was being brought in because they expected Abada to leave.
Yeah, I think that could still happen as well.
And then Jota would be the one that you would sort of invest heavily in replacing. I mean, again, last year I think it was just under 30 goal contributions for Jota. And as we say, two of our 3 goals that Celtic scored. I know there was the OG attack deserves a bit of credit for it, but I think that you look at Jota, he contributed on the main stage, and he would have been one of our main men in the Champions League again this year. No two ways about it. And if you want to be winning domestically, he would definitely be one of the main players for us in that regard as well. So he'll need replaced with real quality. I wonder about the Tilio one. I don't think it's fair to look at Tilio's been signed to replace Jota. I think he's a Celtic signing, and maybe I think Abada. I don't know if that was an Ange signing. Maybe that was more of a Celtic signing. Remember when Ange first came in, and we kind of could sort of read between the lines as to who Ange had a big involvement in and who Celtic did. We had James McCarthy, and he was playing a couple of games. I don't think I just love doing that. But yes,
I really hope Brendan saves him this season. I would love it if it's the James McCarthy revolution that nobody sees coming.
he was in the first image of Brendan. He was in the first day. We'll talk about that in a second as well. But Big James, he was there first day of training, fit as a fiddle, ready to go a couple of games. But yeah, Jota goes. John said it's good money, mate. At the end of the day, with if you sign someone for £6.5 million, you sell him for over £25 million with add-ons, sell-on clauses. That was this other bizarre argument that the Rangers fans, there'll be a sell-on. Saudis don't care about that. I'm like, yeah, but Celtic do, and Saudis don't. You just say to Saudi, that's what you want, the Saudi teams, and they go, all right, whatever, mate, nobody's bother. Have your 20% or whatever it is. That's part of our selling model. There will be a sell-on, and there might be other wee benefits as well. I don't know if they win the league over there or something, they might get a couple of games or a couple of million quid. You never know. But overall, he's brought 2 years of success. He's brought in a hell of a lot of profit. Doesn't matter what Benfica are getting. That's the model. Cheers for the work. See you later. I hope you wouldn't be offended by Celtic's sort of shorter statement or anything like that yesterday, surely no.
No, I don't think so. I think if you're looking at it, he did extremely well over the 2 years, and it is one of those moments where you shake his hand and you move on. He's not going to be one of these guys that I think to get that sort of emotional sort of response from the club and indeed the wider fan base. I think you've got to have done it over a longer period of time. I think time is everything when it comes to the Celtic, especially. I always would kind of go back to Larsson because of the fact his was a proper emotional departure when he left. It's probably the only time I've really felt that as a Celtic fan. Was when Henrik left. I think generally speaking, most of the other players you kind of know they're moving parts in the squad, and they're always going to be evolving and changing the players and as the football club moves on. So I don't think there's necessarily anything there that makes me think, oh, we needed to wax lyrical about Jota. We all know how good he was over the last couple of years he's been there. And I get it. Probably there'll be a lot of Celtic fans that were, really attached to him and did look at him as their favourite player. I know he was yours in the last couple of years. And I think likewise, there's probably a lot of Celtic fans out there that will look at it and feel he's sold his soul to the devil by going to the Saudis and cashing in on all that cash that he's going to be making out there. But I think if you're looking at it from a Celtic point of view, they just want to get their money in. And then the statement can follow just to say he's moved, and we don't really need anything more than that. And, there's not going to be anything more that really needs to be said there from a Celtic point of view. They'll look to find somebody else that can do a similar job, and it might well be a case that whoever ends up getting brought in to replace Jota might only last another 2 years before another club comes in with a multi-million-pound deal that blows us out the water. I think that the surprising thing about Jones, I think it's taken everyone by surprise. I don't think anyone's seen this move coming. I think that was probably something that even took Celtic by surprise. And I usually think Celtic are a wee bit ahead of the curve when it comes to selling players. They normally have a good instinct, I think, going into most transfer windows as to who they expect to lose and who they're expected to be tabling bids for. And perhaps they may have expected something from Jota, but I think coming from the Saudis, I think would have been a totally unexpected left field sort of move that Celtic certainly were not expecting for at all. And on top of that, it seems to have happened very quickly too. So I think, when you're taking all that into consideration, it's kind of caught everyone off guard a wee bit. But Celtic will try and do what Celtic do best, and they will try and replace Jota. And that's going to be the cycle now. There's no time to really be getting upset or lyrical big essays, love stories about how good this player was when he was here. The fans all know that anyway. The videos are all out there on any social media channel you choose to watch. So there's no real need to go into too much depth on that from the club's point of view. So, yeah, I think you just say thanks for your time. You did great for those couple of years, but we move on. Let's get down to business, as Brendan would say, and try and move forward.
Let's get down to business. I don't think he's ever said that, but fine. We can make that work, Jonathan. Let's get down to business, as
be disrespectful.
As Brendan would say.
don't be disrespectful.
I definitely don't think he's ever said, let's get down to business. But do you know what? Just you flying anything you want in there, John. Just you paraphrase all you want, mate. I like it. As Brendan would say, let's talk about something else. Right, okay. Oh, did you know I said that? No. Right, Brendan, the first image, I've got to be honest, that was the most surreal image I've seen yet. Even the presser on that wasn't as surreal. See, just seeing him in the training ground again, I was like, this is the maddest summer ever. I mean, I think we thought it was mad with the Ange thing, but it was actually a drag that summer. See, we actually think about it, like the Eddie Howe thing going on for ages, and then Postecoglou came in. I was a wee bit like, I was a wee bit, well, if I say a wee bit, I was underwhelmed by it, to be honest. So this one's like full of excitement and also utter bonkers that the rat, as he was getting called, is now back in situ. I'm all for it. But yeah, seeing him in the training ground today, it's mad, eh? What else is going to happen this summer? It's not the summer of love, Jonathan, that I was describing it as. I've now realised it is the summer of madness.
Yeah, definitely is. I think when you're looking at Brendan back in situ and back in the training top, I think it all begins to hit home that this is actually happening. Again, I think he's going to be all out. I think he's going to be super motivated. You know, I know he's not working with the full squad as of yet because some of them still have to come back from their respective breaks. For the players that were on international duty, I think they're due back slightly later on. But he'll like the opportunity to see what he's got for his squad at the moment. I think, again, he's very similar to Postecoglou in the sense that I think he enjoys spending his time on the training ground and trying to coach and develop players. But I think he also tries to develop people and personalities, and try and bring out the best in the person that he's working with. Which again I think is another similar trait from Postecoglou. So I think there's a lot of similarities there, and I think that will certainly help the transition for a lot of the players that might have been close with Ange before he left. So that's a good starting point for him, getting to know those players and getting to see what they're all about. I think he's obviously going to be looking heavily in the transfer market now, especially with that unexpected money that's came in from Jota from left field. So he's going to be looking to try and exploit that as much as he can, on top of whatever he's already been promised by the Celtic board to make him cut short his sabbatical for a year. So I think when you're looking at Brendan this time around and seeing him back in that training kit, you're thinking this is going to be massive. We're going to have a really big summer here, because what we expect with Brendan to me means box office. And I think that is how a lot of other fans will look at this as well. And I think the story's already kind of written in such a way that it's almost like a real life drama playing out in front of your eyes, and you're kind of looking at it now and thinking, what is the next act in this drama? Because Brendan Rodgers is going to need to try and win some fans over, which I'm convinced he will do, by the way. But I think him being able to go out and make a statement in the transfer market is what he's really wanting to do, to get those fans that are perhaps doubting him on side. And I think, again, it's going to give a boost to the players that are already there and the club in general when he's able to actually make the first signing that we know is a Brendan signing, because so far the signings that have came in have already been in the pipeline. They were, the sort of end of Ange's era, if you like. They were Ange's sort of final signings that were kind of signed off by him, that Brendan's kind of confirmed were okay to finalise. But I think from this week, we'll get a much better indication as to what Brendan Rodgers is looking for. And there's quite a lot of big names being linked, Russell. And I would be astonished now, after Jota moving for potentially a record fee, if Celtic don't go and burst their own record fee in this window.
Yeah, they definitely will. I think they undeniably will this summer. And obviously, the money that has been promised to him was there, I think, based maybe on a player sale. But whoever they had on the list, I'm not sure if Jota was one. Might have been. Who knows? If he is, if he wasn't, sorry, I think we'll get quite a bit of the profit, or quite a bit of the actual whole fee to go and to get added to that kitty as well. It's exciting. And obviously right now, Brendan back in the training ground, It is. We just need to get used to what we're not accustomed to. I think this summer. Be excited by it. That's the message I keep trying to get across. I think we're all just conditioned now to go. We can't do this and we can't do that, and I'm like, we can do whatever we want. You that all said Brendan Rodgers, there's no chance he'll be the Celtic manager for the 23-24 season. That is the facts. You'd have probably said 6 months ago there's no way Jota would go to the Saudi Arabian League for £25+ million. He did. So I think we can accept that there's going to be some things that happen this year that'll blow our wee tiny bounds. It's not difficult in my case, to be fair. But with that, there's a few comments that have came in that I want to go over because I like doing that. And they kind of relate to the topics of conversation that we've had. And we'll start with Gary88. Thanks for jumping on the bus, Gary. And he's like, do you think we've made Kyogo our top earner? Obviously, we'll talk about that at the top of the show. What is it we've done to convince him? He still had 3 years left in his deal. He signed a 5-year deal when he joined, did he not? Was it 4? 4 or 5, they all signed back then. But he said at least 2 years left. Do you think we've made him the top earner? I think he'll be in the top earner bracket. Don't know if he'll be the top earner.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's going to be in there. He'll got a very good increase in wages, but I don't think he'll necessarily be the absolute top of the tree. But he'll certainly be, I would imagine, in the top 3 or 4 at the club just now. I think Celtic would need to have offered him something like that. The money is there, and I think in some ways, what is the benefit of the club at the moment is the fact that, as Brendan said when he first came in, Celtic are in a very strong position, both financially, but even on the pitch. This team that has been put together by Ange Postecoglou are just fresh off the back of winning a treble. They had a few good performances in Europe without getting the results. I think Brendan Rodgers will look at all of this and think there is so much potential with what I'm even inheriting before I even look at the transfer market, that it's vitally important that I try and tie down as many of our key assets onto new deals as I can. And Kyogo is obviously going to be one of them because he is the best striker at the club by a country mile as it stands, unless Brendan goes out and signs another one. So I think he'll definitely be up there towards the highest earning, but I'm not entirely sure whether he would, surpass like a Callum McGregor, for example. But top 5, and I think Kyogo's pretty happy with that. He'll certainly be well financially reimbursed for putting pen to paper on that deal, I would suggest.
Yes, absolutely. And just by the way, there is 319 watching live right now, so do remember to like, subscribe, share, slag the hair, all that good stuff. Thank you. I hate saying all that stuff, but I better take advantage of it when it's still busy. The bus. What night is it? Tuesday, 20 to 10.
Tuesday night at 20 to 10. Incredible.
I know. Come listen to Jono Keevans and I don't know, Boris fucking Johnson, whatever I look like these days, I don't know. There's been a few midlife crises you could point to in my life already, but this is definitely...
You've not got the tummy of Boris. Don't be so hard on yourself.
No, I don't, man. I don't. I could lose some weight in my face, definitely. I like squeezing my cheeks. But yes, I mean, I think... I don't even know what we're talking about now. So yeah, the Kyogo earning thing, he'll be in the top bracket 100%. But there could be more money coming in as well for us to spend. It might not just be the sale of Jota getting added to the kitty. It might not be sales that we maybe expected to happen, like potentially Labada. What about the news? Frimpong possibly heading back to EPL. Arsenal, like now today, Jonathan, they're looking at 50 million squid. 50 million. Oh my days. Hey, that would be around 30% of that. You'll be better than maths than me. Look. 15 mil?
No, at this time of night, yeah. That sounds about right.
We'll get the profit. There'll only be of the profit, so that'd be what, fucking 39 million divided by... So if we get about 12 million quid, we could be getting for him, like another 11, 12 million. That'd be mad. That would make him a record sale at this point, wouldn't it? Or up there with Van Dijk. Because Van Dijk was, 13 plus 7.5. So he was like over 20. Something like that. Fucking, this is madness. We Frimpong too, eh? Underdog. That shows you the importance of these sell-on fees. And anyone who thinks there won't be one on Jota, I think are just living with, as Roy Keane would say, living in cuckoo land.
Oh, it's nonsense if you think there isn't one. But I think there's absolutely going to be a sell-on clause there. But Frimpong is, as I said, at the start. It's like that wheel of fortune I was alluding to at the start. It just keeps coming up, trumps for Celtic at the moment. And, even when the players aren't even our players anymore, we're now scoring, potentially £10 million plus, or, on somebody, that we sold years ago. So it's just another bonus that Celtic have. And I think it just goes to show how much money we've now been able to accrue. I think if there's one thing you can always say about Celtic in the transfer market, it's whilst we might have had concerns and might still have concerns about buying in this market, one thing Celtic have always done extremely well is selling, and you're really seeing the benefits of that now, is that Celtic know how to get the maximum value, I think, for their players more often than not. And, this has been proven again with
Just not always
Frimpong.
initially. Just not always. It might not seem it initially, but there's probably, if you look back at some of the deals that you've then made your potential sell on you, you're
Yeah,
right.
I think as long as it's not been one of these cases where the manager, and I'll obviously there's been a couple in the last year where Ange has decided he wants rid of the players, and I think he's pretty much tied
We
the club's
Huffy
hands.
Ange. We
Yeah,
Huffy Ange.
as much as I don't really actually, you know what? Fuck him, he's gone now. I'm gonna have a dig at him now. He's not here no more. I think I think he did tie the club's hands behind their back a little bit with Juranovic and Giakoumakis. I think there was more money to be made out of those two, but I felt because of Ange wanting rid of them, making that public in the press, the club couldn't probably do the same sort of business that they've been able to do with others. But I'd say there are exceptions to the rule. I think Celtic, they know how to sell players into markets, and even when it looks perhaps like it's not the best deal at the time, you just wait 3-4 years down the line till that sell-on clause kicks in, and you see that extra money coming in, and Celtic know what they're doing. The interesting point this summer, and I think that's why you call it the summer of madness, is what you're calling it, it's because we just don't know how mad Celtic are going to go on the spending front, because the money's there. There's nowhere to hide. They have to spend, and you just don't know. Are they going to, push the boat out and go absolutely wild and go on a spending splurge? Or are they going to go and, spend 15, 20, 25 million pounds on a player? It's all within their remit. People will turn around and say 20 million, we can't even spend on that. We can. We could if we wanted to. The money's there. I'm not saying we necessarily will spend 20 million pounds on one player, but we could do that. It's not going to put us into any financial difficulty by doing that. So I think it's set up to be a very intriguing summer. I think everyone has now got a very close eye on exactly how much of this money Celtic get that they choose to then re-spend on the club. And I think if it's not a fair whack of cash that's spent this summer, Celtic fans will question that. And I think the board will be acutely aware of this. And that's why I think with Brendan being back in situ, the board will have made those promises, because they know they need to spend. And I trust Brendan Rodgers to find the right players when he's being backed properly by the board, like he will be this time around, to ensure that this summer is probably going to be one of the most memorable as a Celtic fan in terms of summer transfer windows, perhaps in Smart O'Neill's time.
Well, there we go. Stephen Ray wants to know the answer to the question. He says, how much do you guys think we will spend in total? It's almost impossible to say. It is almost impossible. Well, that's true, yeah. I mean, it's not like we get much right.
You make it sound as if you work for the club. Oh, it's almost impossible to say. What
just what, I'm usually one for diplomatic answers. Fuck it, I think we'll spend £27.2 million. I don't know. I think there would be, I think over £25 million. I think
comfortably over that. I think it'll be over 30. I think it'll be
30.
I think it'll be 30. I think 30 to 40. I think it'll be 30, because I think there'll be another sale. I think Abada will end up going as well. So I think they'll spend 30 to 40 million.
David Kelly says he joked a week ago we wouldn't even have a net spend. He says now I'm almost certain that we won't, which may well be the case, but it's quite exciting that even if that is the case, we could maybe not have a net expenditure, but still actually spend a fucking fortune. I'm all for that, I'm all for it, and it will be interesting to see how much. It's fucking difficult, but we want real quality coming in this time around. If Celtic need to get guys like Holm and Tilio, and I don't want to write them off completely, by the way, either, as being first team ready, but I think these guys are with a view for the future, but we don't want to summary just that. We want to have the two lanes running parallel and real first team oven ready, as I like to say. Players coming right in there. I know Phil likes me. He's always laughing when I say oven
That's kind
ready.
of going back to your Boris chat, though. Is that not what he used to always say during COVID? Oh, I've got an oven-ready idea.
Fuck off, mate. Aye, that's it. I'm just channeling my inner Bojo, mate. That's just, that's what it is. I've no Mojo left, it's just Bojo that's left, you know what I mean? Fucking hell. One other name that came up, Brian McKay, but he says Foster, 35, didn't want to sign before, can't play out from the back, no thanks. Yeah, I think that Football Gospel put out a fucking post that, you know, how much of that was based in reality, I really don't know. I doubt much. But yeah, they had this story that Fraser Forster was going to rejoin for a third time. I don't think that's Brendan's guy, mate. I don't think we'll be signing a 35-year-old Fraser Forster back. I think we've enjoyed his spells at the club. He's done well. That ship is very much sailed. Am I right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think if he'd wanted to come back, we needed him for that 10-in-a-row season, and he didn't come back when we absolutely needed him, and when Lenny was hanging his hat on him to try and get him through that season. Fraser Foster decided he'd rather stay and fight in England than come back up the road with Lenny. And I don't think Brendan Rodgers would look at a Fraser Foster as his type of goalkeeper. I think he will look at somebody that is more comfortable playing out from the back. I think he tried to get somebody of that ilk the first time around with not much success in Doris de Vries. And then to a lesser extent, he also tried with Scott Bain, who again was a bit tidier with the ball at his feet than Craig Gordon was. So I would imagine when Brendan is looking at his goalkeeping options, he'll look at Joe Hart, and again, not the best kicker, Joe Hart. And obviously, a lot of Celtic fans are targeting that goalkeeping position as one that we need to improve to be ready for the Champions League. I think it is a position Brendan will look at, but I would be astonished if it was Fraser Foster that is the one he ends up going for. I'm just hoping he's managed to get an eye for a goalkeeper since he's been away, because his first two, the last time around, weren't exactly ones that fill me with optimism. But hopefully this time around, I think Brendan will be better prepared, and obviously with that extra cash to spend, he'll be able to identify an improvement there over what we have. But I would imagine it's going to be more of a ball-playing goalkeeper, more like a modern-day goalkeeper, if you will, than going back to type on a Fraser Foster.
Yes, he'll have his eyeballs definitely on a different type of goalkeeper, I think, than a Fraser Foster. A lot of folk in the chat talking about the Croatian guy that Connor so expertly pronounced last night, Livakatovic or something. I can't mind it. Apparently he's available at the £6 million bracket. Obviously, it's very much affordable. Croatia number one for me, says DJ Gaz. A lot of people mention him in the last few days.
Well, you know you like a Croatian international. You like a Croatian
international.
Oh,
yeah, it's Croatian. Oh, well, at least we've got that. I mean, if we got him, at least we'd be able to say Croatian international now before we mention the player. So every time he makes a mistake, we go, but he is a Croatian international. It seems to get you a free pass for anything if you're a Croatian international. So yeah, that would be good. But yes, I wonder. A few other shouts there for the Scotland goalkeeper Angus Gunn. Did his dad play for Rangers? I think so. People, you definitely think that, Billy Gilmore's mom was part of the Rangers 9-in-a-row team, the way folk go on about her. He can't because of his mum. I'm sure Angus Gunn's dad played for Rangers. I think she just supports them passionately. I don't know. I might just make that up. Did I make that up? Was it just Norwich he played for? I might be miles off it with that. Do you know that?
I'm not sure.
I've not got a clue, man. I might have just completely made that up. Just sounded dramatic. There was one other great point. Wee bit of banter from the signing of Jota. I don't know if you watched the very strange Grand Theft Auto-esque trailer video that they did for Jota signing.
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
Oh my god! So you've not seen it, right? That's fine, John.
I've seen the pictures of it. I've seen the playing cards. I've seen parts of it. I've not watched the full video.
Aye, Big Nuno just cutting about, right? They were basically, it's Nuno just driving about, and he wanted to get his man. He gets Jota, and he's like, it's a deck of cards. There's like 4 or 5 Celtic players listed on it. I'm like, if I think yous are like leaving us clues, didn't bother. Like, do you know what I mean? I think, we're not wanting that. We're absolutely not wanting that. Livakovic, that's his name. Everyone else, just leave it to the boss man. CJ Dominic Livakovic. Dominic is his first name. Didn't expect it to be Dominic, but you never know. Rumours are, says Sam Haynes Scott. He's maybe in the know, Jonathan. ITK. He says there's rumours we are back in for Vinny Souza, the tall Brazilian defensive midfielder. Big Vinicius. I remember that. That'd be interesting.
I guess a position we need, though, isn't it?
Yes.
I would always say, I thought that was something we needed last year under Bustalgia. I kind of expected them to go for a Wanyama type midfielder, and I still bang that drum that I think we could do with a little bit more of a physical presence in the centre of the park. I'd be interested in us going back in for somebody of that ilk. Obviously, I know Ndidi's been linked as well, so I'd be quite keen on seeing if that's an option that could be explored, because I think that's a name that everyone is familiar with. Whether that's feasible or not, I think that's one that Brendan might well look to ask the question of, though, since he's worked with him. I think that's a position that's been slightly overlooked the last few years, because we've not really had a powerhouse in the midfield for a while. Even Scott Brown was, not so much the physical imposer in terms of, how his stature was, but he was able to put himself about pretty effectively. But I definitely think we could do with somebody of that sort of ilk to play in the Champions League. And I think that is something that hopefully Brendan identifies, because I think that's been a bit of a blind spot at Celtic for the last couple of years. And I'd like to see a bit of powerhouse enforcer back in there.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Anyway, I think we've covered. Is there anything else you want to talk about today, Jonathan?
Well,
go on.
I was just going to mention, obviously, with Brendan taking his training for the first time today, Russell, is there anybody that you're particularly looking at in that training that's making you think that's somebody Brendan will quite like working with? That's somebody that Brendan could, flip and turn into a really good player. You've always seen it with Postecoglou, doing it with the likes of Tony Ralston when he first came in, just as one example, Greg Taylor being another one. Is there somebody in that squad you think Brendan Rodgers might look at and think he's got raw attributes, he's maybe not having the best of time with it, but, I'm not on the training pitch with him now, I could turn that piece of coal into a diamond, given the right chance, similar to what I've done with other Celtic players. Is there anyone that kind of catches your eye on that front?
I really don't have a clue. Apart from James McCarthy. I don't know, mate.
You just wanted to be James McCarthy so you could keep saying that line.
Couple of games. I don't know. Nah, I don't know. I'm really not sure. There'll be a surprise. I think that's undeniable. I think there will be a surprise of some sort that we go, oh, okay, he likes him. Fair enough. Very, very hard to see though who it would be at this moment in time. But again, wouldn't he expected to have seen Greg Taylor, for example, become such a key player, and he has. So
I think Greg Taylor will come on again. I'm going to throw Greg Taylor in there. I think Greg Taylor will come on again under him. You know that? I think he might.
Do you think when they go back to doing overlapping fullbacks, like, thank fuck we're not doing that inverted thing. That was confusing as anything.
Oh yeah.
I think they did enjoy it, to be fair. I'm only having a laugh. It will be very, very interesting to see if he were to keep that inverted fullback thing. I don't think so. I think he'll put his own stamp on it. Condors comes in. He doesn't like the word ilk, so don't ilk that one, Jonathan. But he does say he'll maybe push Burnaby further forward. Towards the exit door. I don't know. I
think Mark Kearney will pay for the taxi to get him along the road to the airport for a one-way ticket back to Argentina. So I think most of us haven't been overly impressed with what we've seen from Burnaby thus far. I think he might have a point, Condors, though. He might well be better suited to playing further forward than actually playing as a left back. But whether Brendan will look at that and just think that's not really something that's going to fit into my plans, because I just think even as a winger, we've got a lot of good options out wide already. I think he's going to be looking to sign another winger, given that Jota has left the building now as well. So I can't see any reason to potentially bring Burnaby back. And I would imagine there's a few similar to David Kelly that think he should just be going and walking the plank if he's going any further forward. So I think Burnaby would be perhaps if there was a player that Brendan Rodgers was to turn around, put it this way, I think Burnaby would probably be the biggest shock out of the squad, Russell, out of those that are there. If he managed to get Burnaby up to a level where he could get in the first team, there's a challenge for you, Brendan, in training.
Yeah.
Can you save Burnaby from the exit door?
That would be one hell of a resurrection. That would be. I really can't imagine that will happen. I think, as Kimchi Striders, I think you might be saying to Burnaby, Terminado. I don't know. But do you know what? You never know. Anything could happen. Although I would be surprised. There was another comment that came in as well. Imagine if this is going to be the season of madness, not just the summer of madness, right? Imagine we were to get to the Europa League final over in Ireland. That would be cool. Plenty of talent over there, Jonathan. I'm telling you right now. That would be where you want to go, would it not? Imagine. Celtic in a European final over in Ireland. That'd be unbelievable.
And you get to visit Terry as well, if we're going over to Ireland.
I get to visit Terry amongst others.
But no, if it was in Ireland, that would be quite the story if Celtic were to make it and then play the final in Ireland. You could just imagine that the country would be absolutely swamped. Half of Scotland would be emptied to go over to Ireland to watch that. So yeah, that would be massive if Celtic were able to get there. And the club, what is it Billy McNeil once said? I'm going to paraphrase it again because I know you like that. Just
make it up, Jonathan. Just say, just what you should do is just make a statement, right, and then just go and then just pick a random player each week to say, or former player or manager that has said it.
I'm sure Billy McNeil has said Celtic are like a fairy tale club. I'm pretty sure he has said that in documentaries. I'm fairly confident. If you went back and watched,
he has.
And wouldn't that be the ultimate fairy tale if Celtic were to get to the Europa League final with their Irish connections? Win a couple of games and potentially walk out.
Can't beat an Irish connection, mate.
Yep.
Can't beat it, mate. But yes. That would be the absolute dream ending. That would be I think after that. Imagine going to the Europa League final, winning it over in Ireland. That'd be us.
Yeah, that's it. Completed football, really, at that point, Celtic.
We
may as well join the Saudi League after that. Be done in Europe. There's no point.
I'd be parking up the bus going, where do we go for here? That's it. But yes, we will wait and see. Always worth dreaming a wee bit sometimes, you know what I mean? And letting the imagination run wild. So whoever posted that earlier, thanks, because it's a lovely thought to have, isn't it? Heading over to Ireland and hopefully getting the right result. Anyway, we'll all call it there. That's been just shy of an hour. Thanks to so many of you, way over 300, the whole show tonight. Can't thank you enough. The bus has been absolutely jam-packed. Thanks so much. It is exciting times, and it tells me that's how excited everyone is when the bus is this busy on a Tuesday at 2 minutes past 10. Anyway, hopefully it won't just be transfers that we're talking about, because in a few weeks we'll be talking about a couple of games. See you later.